There we go.
Good, thank you, Paula. Right, we'll start the meeting tonight. Just a little bit of housekeeping to do before we get to the formal presentation. Item 1 on the agenda is election of chair to elect a chair of the planning committee for 2024-25. Do we have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate yourself, Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Lisa, and
I'd like
a
to second
seconder.
it.
I'll second you.
Seconded by Robin. Do we have any other nominations? In that case, may I ask for a vote? All those in favour? That appears to be unanimous.
It's enough.
Thank you very much for your trust and faith in me for another year.
Thank you for your hard work as past year chairman.
Second, apologies for absence, Paula.
Apologies from Councillor Harvey and Councillor Willett.
Thank you. Noted. Thank you, everyone. Item 3, election of vice chairman to elect the vice chair for the planning committee for 2024-25. Councillor Stutton.
I propose Councillor Anthony Ralph.
Seconded
I'll second it.
by Councillor Draper. Any other nominations? No, maybe have a vote on it then in that case. Thank you. That is unanimous. You may vote for yourself, Anthony, if you want.
Oh, no.
Modesty forbid.
Yes, yeah, very good choice. Item 4, declarations of interest. Receive declarations of any personal or credential interest under consideration on this agenda. Councillor Dutton.
Just the usual ones to make sure it is recorded in light of the week's activities.
Right. The reference being that we actually are going to have an area planning committee for the first time under the new unitary council, for which holds Buckingham. Anthony.
Item 1, the Christchurch.
Oh, yeah.
Christ Hospital. Oh, that's
Hospital, sorry.
Yeah, I suppose
Yeah.
I should as well.
So any trustees should
Yeah.
declare
Yeah.
interest. That's councillors Ralph, councillor Donahue, and councillor Schaefer. That's true. Thank you. You can obviously speak on it, but you can't vote.
Sure.
Thank you. Item 5, minutes to read the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on the 22nd of April. These have already been received by the full council, so provided there's no amendments to these minutes, they can be accepted as a new record. Anyone happy with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Right, item 5, we move on to terms of reference for the planning committee. You've got them all in front of you. This is the terms of reference as agreed by full council. Has everyone noted that, and any comments or?
Noted.
Noted.
Yeah, noted.
Thank you. I have been asked by the town clerk to remind everybody that there's a 3-minute limit on speaking on any item on the agenda, and generally only once on that item, unless it's a reply to an amendment or.
But you do, as chairman, you do have the discretion
To do what you like.
to give up to 15 minutes.
I do. Thank you. I just passing on the information from the town clerk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right, item 7, to receive a presentation from Warner Planning on a new proposal for land behind Wheelden House on Market Hill. We just, as the agenda says, members should note the discussion is without prejudice to any town council response to an eventual planning application. This is a pre-application discussion, so the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. We're just sorting out the technology, but while that's sorting out. Okay.
Well, as you saw, we had issues as well, you know.
That's cool. Figure out some paper copies just for you to have. I feel like paper copies. I know it's a bit. Is it okay? We've got one. Absolutely, and easy for you to take away. I've just done a few for you. Get some more for you. I'll come back in some. So. Sorry. I don't think I say yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, there's one spare. Everybody else wants to.
Thank you. That's what you
Well
done.
So the into the not shown on the screen, there's no video on it. I've given you access on here, but
Oh, okay.
all I've got is your name. There's no sound as yet, and there's no picture.
I did, and my friend.
Throughout.
That's brilliant. Rather than. That's modern design. I'm just trying to work out why it is. Oh, this is where the post office is. Oh, that's the dentist. Yeah. Well, I did, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see, yes, yeah. Oh, the post office here, yes. Yes, yeah, okay, you get that, yeah, that's travel.
No, it's not.
I mean, isn't it? Yeah, that's what.
We've all got our paper copies, so see that on sale on.
If you're okay with the paper copy, I'll just go to the slide and then
Thank you.
Perfect. You. So yeah, this evening, we're just here to talk about potential development site for Market Hill, Buckingham. We'll go through the slides, and then there'll be a ton of questions at the end. And I'm just going to go through a bit of information which is very helpful. So first of all, just like to say good evening and thank you for having us here this evening. It's great to be here. It's a pleasure to meet you all and to be here for the Town Council to discuss this potential redevelopment of the site. So it's land off Market Hill in Buckingham, and the plan will be broadly to create a mixed-use scheme which covers both residential developments and some commercial opportunities. We'll go through the presentation, and within that we're going to discuss first of all introductions about the project team, then we'll just have a bit of a discussion about the site, then we'll talk about the scheme as such so far, a bit of an update about timescales and where we are in the project, and then as I say at the end there'll be a time for any questions. So in terms of introductions, just sorry, one second. Sorry, apologies. Just a bit of introduction. So I'm Katie Lycett, an associate planner with Wheelden Planning. I've been in planning for over 20 years, about 19 years in local government, Wheelden Council for my sins, and then recently joined in planning about a year and a half ago. So I've had quite a bit of experience in planning over the years in both local government and now with Warner. Warner are an independent planning consultancy based in Milton Keynes. We are quite a small company, but lots of expertise, and we have a very much kind of a client focus with looking after our clients and looking at sort of interesting projects with all sorts of variety. We cover residential, commercial, all around the southeast. So generally, we like to think that we offer a bit of local knowledge. On a personal level, I was born and raised in Buckingham, so I'm very local. You know, Buckingham is my hometown effectively still after 40-something years. So this is very much something that I'm also passionate about locally. This is not just a sort of site A for me. This is like, you know, local to me as well. I'm all here with my colleague.
Hi, I'm Sophie Cairns and I'm an assistant planner at Wheelden Planning, and I will be working with Katie through this project.
And then also, like duty to our client, who some of you may already know, so I'll let Sarah say a few words.
Well, first of all, I'm Sarah Wakeman, and I now, the land is owned by Wheelden Estates Limited, which is my family's company, and I now run the company following the retirement of my father, John Turl. We've been part of Buckingham for over 50 years now, and we feel very, very excited with the plans that Katie and her team have for the site. Because having been part of Buckingham, you know, we care very much about what goes on there. So, and this is my brother, James.
Hello, James Fell. Yes, Sarah said, having gone to school in Buckingham.
Yes.
We've been there for many years. I do vividly remember part assembling the little bits of sort of land over the years, and having grown for sort of 40 years, always with the project, and he was always talking about it. But he always said, but it has to fit with Buckingham. So we're actually excited to have got to this stage. You know, he's very much got dementia now, but we'll tell him absolutely right, forget the next day. But just trying to follow through that ethos, and if you like, finish off his work. So that's why when we started, we looked around for some people to work with, and when you just seemed to get what we wanted, it was a, you know, thank you for.
Absolute pleasure, absolute pleasure. So, in terms of the site, I'll just go through a bit of a sort of description. We've got information there in front of you, but so yeah, it's just to sort of give you the details. It's land off Market Hill, which I'm sure most of you probably will know already, with existing access adjacent to Wheelden House. The site is also south of the recent Sunhouse Hill residential developments. The site is currently allocated in the neighbourhood plan, so that's also something that we've been working around as well. And then just in terms of some other sort of constraints and things to consider, within the conservation area, and also within the context of local listed buildings, including the Chantry Chapel. So we are fully aware that this site is locally important. We're aware that it's got some sort of history. It's not just a generic site. It's got a layout. It's got history. It's got significance. So on that map there's numbers 1 to 6, just to give you some context, just for this, if anyone would find it helpful. Number 1 is marked as the site that we are referring to. It's forming the development. Number 2, we've marked out as broadly the town centre, although I realise it does stand slightly bigger than that. Number 3, we've marked as the Chantry Chapel. Number 4, just for the context, is Hamilton House Care Home. Number 5, as I say, is Sunhouse Hill. And number 6 is Market Hill. So just to give you a context as to where it is within the town. Obviously, it's a key location. It's a great spot for people who are visiting Buckingham. It's a great location for sort of getting active to various things. So it's a good one. It's a good one for us to look for. In terms of the current scheme, it's important that I do reiterate we are not at application stage yet. This is very much indicative, just sort of for discussion purposes. So nothing is set in stone. We are just having sort of open discussions about where the scheme may go. We're looking broadly at creating approximately 9 residential units, which could take the form of 7 new houses with 3 apartments. And that's 7. Not 10.
That was
Circa, approximately. And circa sort of 200 square metres of commercial floor space. So that's the sort of scale that we're talking about. Certainly no more than that, really, in terms of units or floor space. We're sort of aware of the constraints of the site, and we're also very mindful about not trying to put too much on there. So it's been very much a priority for the architect to be sensitive to that. As well as the built form, there would also be associated vehicle parking, landscaping, and general sort of site upgrade works, just to sort of improve the appearance. Importantly, as we've made reference to already, the layout and design has very much been influenced by the historic patterns of developments in this location, and this has been tested with Buckinghamshire Council's Heritage Officer. I will go on shortly to show you how that's unfolded, but it's very much been a priority to try and respect the historic layout and almost not reinvent the wheel. So just to give you some context, there's a historic layout from 1881 next to the proposed layout as we are now. You can see through the sort of where it's marked number 3, you can see there's sort of 2 lines of built form, almost with a kind of a gap down the middle, and that's reflected on the proposed layout and the layout from 1881. So the architect has done all they can to try and respect the original layout from 1881 and do as much as they can to reflect that and be sensitive to it. This slide is just really to give you some details about how the buildings may look. Again, these are very much sort of indicative at this stage, but we've tried to reflect roof details, window details, surface treatment, roof tiles, brickwork, all the things that are found locally. Again, we're just trying to be sensitive and reflect the special character of Buckingham. So it's just about, as I say, just being sensitive to that, and the architect is trying to pull those through their design so that it's very much sensitive and appropriate for the town. By way of what's happened so far, the scheme that is here in front of you this evening has been to the council for a pre-application, just to test the water really, just to see what the response was. It was broadly very positive, positive in terms of principle, with some feedback about some technical matters, which we will of course address during any application. But as a result of that, we've assembled quite an extensive project team of a very large number of expertise in terms of people dealing with things like archaeology, daylight sunlight, parking, drainage. I mean, trees, ecology, we've really kind of tried to cover all the bases, so that we've then got an application that's submitted to the council, which is basically fully comprehensive, with no sort of gaps in information. So there's been quite a lot of work going on in the background while we've appointed those people to sort of share their expertise and to kind of support the project basically. So that's been running along for the last couple of months. The pre-application went in at the end of last year, and we've been working on the project ever since then really. So we're gearing up now for probably submission sometime over the summer. The key really, I think, and Sarah would agree, is to make sure it's right. We're not going to rush anything. We've not rushed anything really. We've taken quite a lot of time, but it's important that we get it right. We're not going to put an application in that's not ready. So as I say, it will be sometime probably over the summer that we submit. And of course, at that point, you'll be all officially notified anyway. So there will be an official time for the consultation. But yeah, so broadly, we're looking at submission over the summer into the council. And obviously, hopefully, we'll have support locally. But if there's any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them. And also, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Katie.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, as you heard, Warner and the questions. So
Well, try us.
anyone like to start the ball rolling? Martin?
Thank you very much. It's been an underused piece of area for a very long time in Buckingham. I think you would need to consider your traffic management, because that's a no entry at that point, isn't it? So, and you're not going to go along the post office and down there. So you'll have to get that sort of moved.
There is entry.
There is an access. There is an access.
What, from West Street? You can't go in that little area. Can
No,
you?
sorry, from Market Hill.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, from Market Hill, yes.
Oh, sorry.
But you're not going to bring goods and building material up that way, are you?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately those things will probably get hashed out.
No, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem that changing, because that will be an easy way in, and then you'll be straight in, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's something to consider.
yeah, certainly, yeah. Definitely.
And you'll be within the conservation area?
Yes.
Yes. So, and Billy, being in town, if there is any residential bits there, you probably wouldn't need any parking requirements either, being flats and stuff within the town centre.
Yeah, so we're currently in discussions with the council's highways team about that issue particularly. Obviously, we're sort of aware that there is a parking standard that has to be applied that the council set out, but we are in discussions about how that will be applied, whether it's applied fully or in part, because we're also really happy about the fact that this is a great sustainable location, as you say, where people may not choose to have a car. So it's the benefits of more parking versus perhaps more landscaping, and it's that kind of fine balance. So we're currently in discussions with the council's highways department on that very issue. And we obviously, as I say, we won't be submitting anything until they are satisfied that the provision that we put forward is acceptable to them. So it's very much, that's kind of one of the hot topics at the moment.
And my last little bit, which I always bring up at planning things, is refuge collection.
Yes, yeah, so our
How you hide them, you know, what they do with the black bins or whatever, commercial waste and domestic. all sorts of things like that, just something that, you know, that you're sure aware of, just bear in
It's
mind.
about the quality of day-to-day life.
It is.
You know, we don't want, you know, refuse sacks with vermin and all the rest of it. I mean, it's.
Well, not at your entrance, because that's where you want to draw people into, isn't
Yeah.
it? So, you know, you want to keep that nice and light and, you know, inviting.
Absolutely, so,
Come in.
we've got a transport consultant who has to cover not only parking, but things like refuse collection, all that sort of stuff. So again, that's absolutely correct, that's a good topic. And it's certainly one that we've already thought is definitely something to think about.
Thank you. Lisa?
Lucy was first.
Oh, sorry.
Just in councillor Harwood's absence, I thought I'd ask if there'd been any thought towards kind of renewable building methods or sustainability, that sort of thing in the planning process.
So we've appointed an energy consultant, and there'll also be a sustainability statement as well. So again, I know that's a very big priority. So yes, happily to, we can, thank you.
No,
So we talk a lot about grey water recycling, and now that cars are hybrid, are you considering putting in any electrical points for car charging, things like
Yeah,
that?
so I think the council standards, as far as I remember, because most of them do now, they do require EV charging, so I think that would definitely come into it as part of the proposal, absolutely, because I think it's almost essential now that in most developments,
Yeah.
certainly that we deal with, it's almost the norm. If you don't provide them, councils aren't normally able to do them, and that's not really wrong.
Good. Yeah, the other thing is about the refuge is, if you consider somebody with a disability, if they've got to haul a bin down to, you know, the end of the entrance, that would be an issue for them. So if you just keep in mind things like that as well. And also like silly things like size of, you know, doorways for if somebody's in a wheelchair. So little touches like that go a long way.
Definitely. Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
No, of course.
Chairman.
Anyone else? I've got 2 or 3 there. First of all, I would like to see more acknowledgement to the Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan and its number of its policies. Most particularly policy DHE6, which is the provision of good quality private outdoor space. This is mandatory in the Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan, so it means that the news, particularly news houses, and I'm not quite clear, you did say that we're talking about 9 properties, but as you said, 7 and 3 actually makes 10. So would you think more news houses or 4 apartments?
I think the majority would be news houses. I think it's very, but again, it's very much sort of a fluid sort of scheme at the moment. But yeah, certainly take on board.
So that's one point about the provision of good quality outdoor space.
Absolutely.
We have had since 2010 the Buckingham Design and Access Statement, which is our current design code until the new neighbourhood plan comes on stream. And that is very clear about chimneys. And I know the Buckingham Society did about chimneys, and you have a lot of local vernacular built into it, I can see, but probably the design, we'd like to see more of our design code followed. With particular chimneys, just to reflect, even if they're not working chimneys, just helps edit.
Yeah.
Policy EE4 in the neighbourhood plan is to ensure protection and enhancement of the town centre as a shopping destination, and you are meeting that because you're combining commercial with, you say commercial, you don't say whether that's going to be shops or offices, but
yeah, I mean, again, it's sort of still slightly sort of fluid, but what we have also done is appointed a retail consultant who does assessments of town centres in terms of their sort of commercial viability. So we've also secured some expert help as well, because we also want to make sure that we're supporting the town in terms of the economy as well.
And that same policy restricts introduction of new non-retail uses in the town centre to 35%, the sum total of the primary retail frontages. So you can obviously, as planners, are very aware of that. And finally, our policy EE2, allocation of land for retail, office and mixed development. Well, this meets it perfectly. So thank you for that. But as I say, we'd like to, when we do the application, the full application, to see more acknowledgement of our neighbourhood plan and of the design and access statements.
Absolutely.
Carolyn's from the Buckingham Society.
Well, you brought up one of my chief points I was going to make on behalf of the Buckingham Society, which, of course, John Turner supported as well. And our chairman of our convention for chimneys, which is very important.
And I'm really pleased to see the financial included in the here, which is incredibly important. But also I hope that there will be attention to detail and mention of the vision and design statement that was created at the beginning of 2002. Okay, and we really just to have a quick revision of that. Well, that's certainly the vision and design. Yeah, definitely.
So, anyone else? You came here wanting some feedback. I hope you've got something.
No, it's really helpful, and I think the key is to do it now, because I think you said if we get too far down the line, it feels too much like a fait accompli that this is, you know, finished, and actually it's absolutely not. We're still very much looking for feedback. We welcome comments. We want to make this something that everybody feels excited about. So whether it's chimneys or, you know, refuse collection, it's just really good to hear your thoughts. And later down the line, we're happy to come back and give you an update if that would be useful. When we're perhaps just about to submit, you know, anything like that we want to do is to try and engage with town council and the community, I think. I just really feel the same way.
Completely, it's very, very important. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And we do appreciate that, sorry, Chairman, don't we? We appreciate being, like, you know, involved at the early stages, so.
Yeah, and we're also very encouraged that at least 3 of you are all Buckingham based. So that to us, you know, that's really democracy at work, particularly planning democracy. So thank you. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, just to say, if you do, I was going to leave some business cards. If you do have any questions that you think of later on, drop Sophie or myself an email. I'll just quickly pop those around. You know, even if you just say, oh, can you think about this, or have you thought about that? We're happy to try and help. So please just drop us an email.
Yeah, we don't normally encourage individual councillors. We've got Catherine McGallagher, who's our planning clerk, and she, you know, she's our channel if you want to get anything through to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say we're welcome to pop back if you'd like us to pop back near the time before submission to give you an update of any changes. We can easily come back from the meeting. If you're happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Or we can watch it online. It's wonderful.
That's all right. I was just worried. I was just worried about you going to be on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So just pick some of those there. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I'm not ready. Thinking of-
Hold on just a little bit.
I'm not too sure, but
That's fine.
if you're-
Yeah, it's long ages. And Mark was in post well. Yeah. Thank you. I don't just take the humid off a little bit. Really?
At the moment, maybe, but not after been developed.
Remind everybody we are live. We are live. Oh, thank you. Right, that's item 7. Item 8 on the agenda, Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan, Vale of Aylesbury Plan, Buckinghamshire Local Plan. If there's any update, I can give you an update, hot off the presses. This morning we had our 27th meeting of the Neighbourhood Plan Working Group, started in January 2023. Anya, thank you for being welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm making my apologies. And see you next time.
Thank you for our readings to exit.
Yeah.
Yes, we actually reached a decision this morning that as Buckinghamshire Council is not yet in a position to give us heat housing numbers for the county-wide local plan, the BNP working group this morning agreed that rather than delay the revised Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan, we should present the work done so far to full council on the 17th of June. This will allow for the design code and other important policy matters to move through the system and to start to carry weight in planning decisions. If approved, the working group will continue to work with the county, landowners, agents and our residents in developing the future growth of Buckingham. So it will be in the hands of the full council on the 17th of June.
Excellent. Excellent.
Good. Item 9, North Bucks Parishes Planning Consortium to receive and discuss the verbal report from our representative, Councillor Ralph. Anthony.
Chair. The minutes from the last meeting are now available, have been for a couple of days, and they haven't been ratified yet. So I'm always extremely cautious about dishing out draft minutes. Nevertheless, I've got a few notes here which I'll read if I may. First of all, and it is pretty much a straight lift from aspects of the agenda. There are 11 members that rejoined the NBPPC this year and have paid their subs. And I did check, and yes, Buckingham Town Council have paid their subs, so we can sit with a halo. The current constitution of the NBPPC dates back to 2015, and a revised constitution will be presented at the next meeting. I think that's quite a good thing that they keep it fresh, because things move around and it's nice to be relevant. Padbury PC raised the issue of timely planning notices. This is interesting, especially for parishes which don't meet frequently, unlike us, and certainly enough to consider applications on tight timeframes. And they suggested some solutions, obviously to seek extensions from Buckinghamshire Council is the first logical one. Councillors to engage with Buckinghamshire Council team leaders and planners to create good working relationships. Well, okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, I say nothing. This is an interesting one. Councillors to dissolve decision-making and submission powers to clerks, because obviously the clerks are there all the time. That was an interesting one. And it was highlighted that legally, Buckinghamshire Council have to take all comments received before determination into account in their decisions. Yeah. Right, yeah, okay. And I think that was really highlighted. The parishes aren't doing things very often. It's quite nice to remind them that they have got some clout.
Yeah.
Now, there was a meeting with Peter Strachan and Eric Owens from Buckinghamshire Council. It was undertaken by Pat Hardcastle, who's the chair, and moi, as a follow-up from our initial one last summer. And it was reported in some detail, and it suggested the reading of the minutes. I suggest the reading of the minutes, once available, would be best, because there's quite a lot of stuff. I want to keep this relatively short and sweet. And there was an update to the local plan, and levelling up and regeneration consideration was discussed. I mean, this is from Central, and who knows what's going to happen, because the chair believed with an impending general election, much could change and dramatically alter the VLP. So it's unlikely we'd see a final plan in the near future. And I think this is something that everybody's beginning to wonder about. Simply, whoever it is, doesn't matter what colour flag they're flying, there'll be changes, I'm quite sure. Interesting, Lou Munger, who I think nearly everybody knows, it highlighted the ongoing need for housing. I mean, we talk a lot about this or that development, but he's saying there is a need for housing, and urged all members to study the call for sites map that we know of and plan accordingly. In other words, go on your front foot and say what you'd like, bearing in mind there has to be some house built. Let's see, other points raised include the obvious area that may be pushed is between the A421, dare I say it, the Expressway Mark II, and the new EW rail route. Now that's obviously going to give quite an area of land, and that's obviously going to be looked on by developers as a good development area. Moving on to more domestic things, Shenley Park consultation is happening, but it's not currently active. So they're going through the long-term sausage machine. It's a big development, and you don't necessarily see much movement it's sort of timed in geological time rather than real time. And then where are we? The A421 study was mentioned, but nobody seemed to have any news on progress. Well, some of this is familiar territory to us all, I know. And then members of Salt Chase said they had a reasonable relationship with Taylor Wimpey, but Taylor Wimpey are having issues with Buckinghamshire Council, and they're about to launch a third consultation on the design code. So much of this is familiar in concept to us, but it's good to be able to report it that we are not alone. I think that's all I really want to say, and I will get the minutes passed through to Catherine, so they will be available as and when they're ratified. I feel more comfortable with that. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions for Anthony?
Thank you, Anthony. With Salt Chase, the A421 and the lack of a steer on it, what was you said you met with officers and cabinet member. Were they site time specific on that, or were they how do I put it, saying it's something that will come? Because it's rather key to how everything works, really. The A421. It may be a future document. It may not take place for 5 to 10 years, but it really needs to be in place to allow people to plan for the future. And the Salt Chase spend a bit of time over that way these days, and it's not they're saying is that science, that development, and it's not. It's an interesting one in the sense that it's in the Vale, sat adjacent to Milton Keynes, and there's and it throws up lots of interesting things, plus lots of problems for Milton Keynes, and probably then problems for Buckinghamshire thereafter. So I'm not surprised it's taken them a long time to sort it out, because the transport links within that estate are, from what I can gather, the idea that you're planning transport links to a road in Milton Keynes, of which go through the middle of a housing estate, which probably didn't think they were going to have a transport link put through the middle of them. So I think it all looks very complicated, but it's the A421 thing, which is somebody's got to fuss up and say what it is. It could be that it's in that far too difficult box to do. But from us in North Bucks and that organisation you kind of come from, Anthony, without that, nobody in the parishes along there can start to plan anything really without at least a steer on the direction it may go.
Well, picking up from your opening question, the object of the exercise with Pat and I was to do with the fact that there seemed to be a lack of a cooperative approach between towns, parishes and the county council, and our concentration was really on how we might actually achieve that rather than covering specific items. But nevertheless, I agree with Councillor Stutchbury. You've got two very large developments there, right on the borders between two authorities, and it's almost inevitable they keep bumping up against each other, and it will be very instructive, I think, for us to follow that. Now, we can't, as a town council, say too much about that because it doesn't affect us absolutely directly, but it is clear that when you've got that situation, there's going to be moments, at least, of tension. So the point that Councillor Stutchbury makes is well made, but we were trying, going back to the original question, we were trying to work on being more cooperative with each other, and that was the thrust of our correspondence and our two meetings with officers and cabinet members.
Thank you very much. Anyone else any questions? No? Thank you.
Record
On
our,
to
record our thanks for Anthony for continuously bringing us back this information and look forward to the minutes.
Thank you very much, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Item 10, tonight planning applications, just for members' information, next schedule of Buckinghamshire Council's North Buckinghamshire Planning Area Committee meetings on this Wednesday, the 22nd, at 10 in the morning, and on 26th of June, 2:30 in the afternoon. Strategic Site Committee meetings on Thursday, 6th of June and 4th of July, both at 2 p.m. We will be mentioning the North Buckinghamshire Planning Area Committee meeting later on the agenda. So, right. First of all, then, to consider response to planning applications received to Buckinghamshire Council and whether to request any call-ins. We start with Christ's Hospital Almshouses, Market Hill, which councillors Stutbury and O'Donoghue declared an interest.
I haven't got an interest in it.
You haven't? Who was it?
No,
I've
actually.
got an interest,
Actually,
I've got an interest in every application, which I won't comment on, but I haven't got an interest in.
You're on the waiting list.
No, I'm not on the waiting list. I mean, unless you know something I don't, in which case, God help them if I am.
It's down to the increase in the court.
I don't think I'm sitting out the front of there would do me any good at all.
So this is just the building application for balcony remedial works. Planning initiatives went up on May the 2nd. Heritage are continuing to make life difficult here. They're saying the decking is unacceptable. Quote, a more appropriate solution is needed, and Heritage requires further information and amendments before taking a decision. Lucy?
I think this all looks really sensible, quite sensitively done, and I'll there.
Sorry,
Propose the brief route there.
yeah, okay, we can do that. Seconded, thank you. Fran, seconded. Anyone else want to speak on it? No? So what we're saying, with no objections, subject, if we could just add subject to the Heritage Office.
Yeah.
Catherine, there's the wording on that. All those in favour? Everyone is allowed to vote.
Are you withdrawing that?
Yeah, 2.
No, he's not putting it in the first place.
Well, he couldn't. He couldn't.
He didn't vote for himself to be vice chairman, to be
I know.
fair.
And my abstention.
Thank you. Second one is 11A Formal Place.
Yeah.
This is what was the takeaway upstairs behind us. Determination as to whether prior approval is required in respect to transport, highway impact, noise, contamination, and flooding, and location considerations for conversion, ground floor park from first floor, Class E to 4 flats and 1 Class 3 building. A lot of schedules in there and things. This had notices posted on the 24th of April, and I know the Buckingham Society have a view on this.
The view is that we don't object in principle to conversion to residential, but we are concerned about the logistics of over the dry cleaners and the solvents that come out of such processes. Indeed, it was a bit of a problem, we recall, with Coffee One and the flats above it because of that dry cleaning shack at the back, which was one concern. And the other one was fire escape. Doesn't seem to be. There's one exit, one entrance and exit, and with 4 quite dense units, that potentially is quite a risk. Those are not necessarily material considerations for the planning department, but I think they should be mentioned.
Thank you, Carolyn. Lisa.
Thank you. On that note, I wonder if they've had advice or they're going to seek advice from the fire brigade if they've only got one entrance and exit, because I would have thought something like that might be going against some sort of regulations or illegal.
Yeah, normally we'd expect the fire report. There hasn't been one yet in the.
Yeah, singular lack of documentation. So we've given all those things in the list in paragraph. All we've got is and lighting.
Yeah,
just not good, is it?
As Catherine said in the application, this is an MA1 application. It's one of the new 2021 application types designed to convert upper stories of shops to flats. and increase the population of town centres where other infrastructure is assumed to already be in place. So there is a precedent for this type of development now, but this Carolyn, as you said quite right, the solvent problem and the fire escapes. So I would propose at this stage that we raise no objection, but we do draw attention to the concern there is only one fire exit at the moment, and also concern about the dry cleaners with
Chemical,
solvent.
yeah.
Can I have a second bit first? Seconded by Anthony. Jane.
It's just a comment. I was in France last week and I went to two places to try and get something dry cleaned, and they seem to be banning dry cleaning because of solvent use and things like that. So I just put that into the parks. They looked at me as if I was some sort of, shocking barbarian for wanting to do dry cleaning. And then I realised how bad a person I was. But so I don't know whether it's a general thing, but just a thought that for the future, dry cleaning and solvents might be in the frame for stop.
Thank you. Martin.
Where's the refuge go?
In the car park out the back, still installed.
Next to the cycle rack they're putting.
They're separate from the commercial.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, thank you.
They've got a perfectly adequate staircase and side door on the side of the car shop.
Yeah.
I thought they were closing it up.
They are.
But they could make it nice.
Yeah.
But it depends whether it should just go straight to one flat.
I was gonna say, from looking at it, it
Well,
looks like
you don't
that
have to
staircase.
design as often, do you?
It would go into the bathroom of the,
If they made it so that it went onto a landing that's on the front doors, I mean, that's not a set in stone. It's a takeaway at the moment, so I mean,
Yeah.
they can make their partition walls wherever they want. So
Absolutely. It's not been built yet, so yeah, you're right.
Catherine's also added in her comments that can be noted number 12 already has permission for 2 flats on the first floor, so eventually that's going to be all. Anyway, unless anyone else wants to speak, it's been proposed. We have a second. All those in favour? That is everyone except Robin. Thank you. Item 3 on the planning application is number 7 Gilbert Scott Road.
that was used this morning.
So beat us to it. Catherine had raised a suggestion that it may not be suitable, appropriate for a certificate of lawfulness, and in fact, Aylesbury has agreed. There is, in addition, a condition on this property. It says there should be no enlargement, improvement, or other alterations. And as permitted development rights have been removed, that means they're going to have to make a full planning application if they want to proceed. So we don't need to do anything about that now. Number 4 is 4 Bristol Hill. Listed building application for rerouting existing covered passageway and EC to rear. WC to rear. The planning. The planning notice went up on May the 8th, so neighbours have been aware. Caroline, back into start.
We have no objection. Only be an improvement.
Anyone else any comments? In that case, I say we have no objections. Seconded by Anthony. All those in favour? Everyone except Robin. Moving on to number 5, which is 2 Westfields. This is a certificate of lawless.
Now.
The proposed drop curb to give access to a new permeable driveway being installed in front of the house. This property has a garage to the side. It already has a drop curb. And as Catherine says, we do need more information on this parking. For instance, will the original drop curb be thus reinstated? Exactly. As a footpath curb? Otherwise, there's going to be further loss of parking on the curbside. There is a lack of information. There'll be less garden. In fact, there'll be actually no garden in the photographs. And I think, as Catherine said, we need a lot more information before we can take a decision on this. Business significantly for lots of this, which we're not normally invited to comment on, but as we have been, this is.
Yeah, my concerns would just be that we say that's at the bottom of. So Westfields, you're kind of getting close to Bath Lane territory, which is obviously having flooding issues, and I sort of think that any paving over existing grass potentially have an impact. So if they're just going to be paving over that entire.
It does say permeable.
Karen,
We have no
no. Okay. So, can we actually, we can get a comment this.
We won't. Well, we're not allowed to comment anyway, so why don't we say what we want?
I propose that we
But I think we'll ask for more information.
Yeah. Okay. So I propose then to say that we cannot come to a decision on this until we've got further information about the garden and in particular will the current crop curve be reinstated as curve when they put the new one in.
Yeah, it's just carry on really, but just a point that of course the new drop curve will be closer to the junction. So you know that's more of an issue, but I suppose these days, you know, who cares?
Can I make a comment on that, Chairman? If you've got somebody on a mobility scooter or pushing prams, having a drop curb near to a junction is actually quite handy. Because I did the whole Badgers thing, and it's like you have to cross over here and then go up and then go across and then come back down. So just often having a drop curb near a junction is useful.
The actual fact, there is one as been. Since you're a footpath crosses. But Westfield is numbered round, it's not odds and evens, so there is a number one Westfield before you get to number two. It's got and so I mean you're not a capital place to come.
So I made a proposal.
But that is the only documentation apart from the application form.
Right.
And you're supposed to work out what's going on from that.
So, you're seconding, and
Yes,
thank you. So everyone heard the proposal, you take note, can take a decision, or have further information. All those in favour? And everyone accept what thank you. Number 6 is Land at Tindrick Road. This is St Rombold's Fields South. This is a variation of condition 10 of Planning Commission, which was granted in 2017. To vary drawing references within condition 10 to allow amended distribution and amendment to proposed homes give effect for 9 additional homes to the layout of homes south of Tindrick Road. It's basically a change, as you can see from Catherine's plan on page 22. It's that pink section, and it's just making a change to the road there. It will be permeable surface. Any comment on that? Karen?
I thought in Catherine's report, they said it wouldn't be permanent, it had been if it's in the condition. And I thought they were now going to put tarmac.
Has resulted in a decision to make this a hard surface instead.
So
What it isn't doing is making a significant effect in the drainage.
No.
that too, but the principle of always varying these conditions.
Yeah, you're right, Karen, and I think correct in saying I should have said was that what Catherine just said.
Yeah.
To ensure that sufficient surface water treatment is provided by the state drainage.
And it is very minimal.
Yeah.
It's just all these variation conditions on large developments are both tiring to look at and take in. And gosh, Catherine, you do well.
It's essentially what they're doing is changing one letter on the decision sheet from whatever revision it was to whatever revision it is.
Well, what a lot of people
Yes, but because it made the decision sheet wrong, because if they were asking for revision E and we're now up to F with this change, then it would be illegal to carry it out.
We're in despair.
Yes.
Well,
first of all, I don't like this creepage, which is my nice word of using these things. Two, is it going to be adoptable or not?
I think the whole point is that it will now be an adopted part of the road.
Just round that
Yes.
area, but not the ones at the back, so
No, but
only halfway of the bit.
county do not like adopting block paving.
Yeah, but also in point 10, underneath those two, it says that it will be permeable, but which will then become something else, permeable paving. Extents. With the, so,
That was right on.
but Lucy's right, because in the preamble, it does say that it will be a hard surface instead. So I am perplexed as to which road we're going to take.
Can you have a hard permeable surface?
Yes.
I think,
See what I mean?
Catherine might know
Like,
that.
you can have permeable asphalt, but it becomes a hard
As
surface.
is gravel.
Yeah, that's right, but it is permeable, so I wonder then mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Number two.
Oh, just a chance still here.
as Catherine said, it's the same number, but rather than a B, it's a C. I mean, how Catherine spots things like that.
I do.
We all are.
We are in awe of.
We are in awe.
It's called an intense squint, if you remember. And a general attitude of not letting them get away with it.
But all they're really doing, as Catherine says, is regularising the wording of everything, so.
Yeah.
So I propose we have no objection to this variation.
You've got more lawyers. I guess.
Seconded by Anthony, all those in favour?
Yeah.
Everyone bar one, thank you. Goodness, we spent more time on that. Now back to an old friend, 36 Chandos Road. This is the HIMO application, variation of conditions for no conditions, no kitchen facilities, including kitchen units, kitchen sink and or cooking hobs shall be installed at any time within any of the 7 bedrooms hereby permitted. In the conversion of a 4-bedroom house into 7 HIMO units. What's happened here is that going over me. Right, now, so what Catherine has explained is that you've got a house of 8 bedrooms in it. 7 of those bedrooms are self-contained, but one of them is not. That one that is not makes the whole house a HIMO.
Or requiring a licence for it.
Yeah, but and so what they're doing, they've deliberately left one of the bedrooms clean, as it were, with nothing inside. And this is a variation. So this is an amendment to the application. It's still the same number of rooms, but only 7 of them will have the kitchen sink, cooking hobs. Highways were opposed, as you know, to the parking spaces, but we're beyond that now. The planning application approval was given back in 2023. So what they've come back for is just that they then came back with another application to have additional rooms using the garage block at the back. That was then withdrawn in 2023. We have what's in front of us now, the application for variation of condition 4.
He has, if you remember, we had a HIMO application on Bernardine's Way. Now, he had the same thing there. 1 bedroom did not have ensuite facilities, bathroom facilities, because you had to go out on the landing and use the original bathroom. So it's not ensuite, so it's not.
Self-contained.
But they also allowed kitchenettes in the upper rooms. And I think it's a great case, I'm sad to say, of inconsistency down the Delta.
So the reasoning behind this, the removal is required as it's no longer self-contained room to ensure it's used as a high mow and will not be self-contained, leading to amenity and parking issues which will be contrary to.
I mean, as a high mower, it's much more tightly controlled.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have your gas safe certificates and your electrical things and vent taxis and all the rest of it. And it all has to be inspected before they'll give it a license. Whereas if you just turn it into a self-contained bed sits, building control will just check that you haven't actually done anything stupid with asbestos and go away.
So our hands are rather tied with this. All we can really do is know.
I mean, there's good reason why not having a little kitchenette in each room. And the housing people say, you know, you can't have the cooking facilities anywhere close to the bed. Well, these rooms are not big.
Or a toilet, you don't want to be sitting on a toilet and staring at your beans, do you?
Could be an advantage.
That image will stay with me. I don't like beans.
Karen.
We had quite a long discussion about this as you've had these rules to be exploited in this way is surely a case for some legal intervention at county level. It is absurd that 7 bedrooms all have a kitchenette and one doesn't, and it's an HMO. If we're still going to run into all the problems that 7 self-contained flats will give to the street and the town. But also, it was pointed out that fires usually start in kitchens.
Yeah.
And this is highly dangerous.
Yeah, you can increase the fire risk by 7 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lucy.
And just to note as well that they seemed, rather than not including the kitchenette in what looks to be one of the smallest units, they have not included the kitchenette in what looks to be one of the largest rooms, which is room 7, which you would think with fire safety and having a nice, pleasant living space, if you've got a small room, that's going to be the one without the kitchenette, rather than leaving the biggest one.
Yeah. Just reading through the portal, the housing officer on the 9th of May said we should note that one shared facility will effectively make this a high level. That's where we are. It's for that. That's what they've done. They've gone for that quite deliberately, obviously. There's nothing we can do about it. But the only good thing is, as Catherine says, it will have to be licensed to high which means stricter controls and inspections. We are where we are with that, so I propose have no objection to that. Angela?
No comment, no.
All those in favour? We take it to vote.
I think Carolyn just said no comment on it rather than no objections.
I did, but I murmured it before.
I'd say no comment personally myself.
What, rather than no objection?
Yeah.
Because we have objections.
Yeah, we do have objections.
Because it's already been proposed and seconded, so.
I'd like to propose that we say we have no comment rather than no objections.
And you'll second that?
Yeah.
Right, so we can take the first one then. So all those in favour that we respond with no comment? That's everybody. So we move back to the other, the other motion. So we just vote against the objection of that. Is that right?
Yeah, so we voted no comment, so that's sufficient.
That's sufficient. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Siobhan. Thank you, Brian. Should have come back quick on that.
Yeah, you can't vote negatively on, you can't vote not to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. Put that down. My first error is a new chair.
Sausage and beans, isn't it, as well?
Right, number 8 is fittingly number 8 Primrose Way. Householder application for front porch and single story rear extension. There's quite a mixed bag of front porches already and they're set well back from the road. I would assume that Buckingham Society, they would have something to say.
We have no comment.
No comment. As opposed to no objection. Is everyone happy with that? Thank you, I propose no objection, seconded by Anthony, all those in favour? That's everyone, except for Robin, thank you. Right, number 9 is 3 Wells Street, what was formerly known as Black Goo, and before that the garage. Listed building application for internal alterations to include removal of a bar and raised floor, modifications to modern staircase, demolition of modern partitioning and construction of new partitioning. As I said, it was the garage, it was a Methodist chapel going back some way. It's very attractive inside the building, it's all being looked after well. The proposal is to have a shop at the front of it, which would be for ballet, things associated with ballet.
It doesn't actually say that anywhere.
No, but that was our understanding, but we'll just say it's a shop at the moment. Behind it will be a ballet class room on the ground floor. On the first floor, which is a gallery, mezzanine, architect's office and meeting room. And part of the proposal is to remove the upper half of the new staircase. But as far as the rest of the internals, including the beautiful roof and the stained glass windows, they won't be touched. No site notice on this so far, but so people in Wells Street or other interested parties will not yet be aware of this application. Lucy.
So is this just about, this application is just for the works rather than the change of use? Or not change of use, or rather than the...
It's listed as building application for internal alterations. So does this come under change of use or?
I think it's all Class E now.
Yeah.
So there's no change from class, yeah. So, any on us, Karen?
Well, I think first of all, I think we'd like to say rather ingenious use of the building, and
I think it's a first.
I think it's
I don't think I've ever had an architect practice on top of a ballet class.
Well, we hope it works.
Yeah.
We would point out the fire risk again, but there are 2 doors to the front rather than just the one. But I think the main point of concern was really parking issues. We hope it doesn't exacerbate Wells Street parking, which is already at a premium and will be more so after the conversion of the day centre.
I was just also going to say parking, not necessarily so much parking issues, but pick up and drop off, which is likely to be the case with ballet classes, and it tends to be a rolling thing, doesn't it? It would be throughout the late afternoon, early evening, I should imagine, for something like that, and then probably on Saturday and Sunday.
The people are trying to get back from work, and trying to park outside their houses. Bit meh.
And also remember, it's going to be immediately opposite what will be a 6th form school.
Yeah.
In the
That won't necessarily impact, but it's just going to prolong that sort of pick up and drop off time.
We can ask that they make a condition that people do not, that they park in normal level and walk there.
Yeah.
They're fit enough for ballet, they fit enough that walk.
I mean, they could always use because the 6th form won't be open or operating at the times of an evening class. Sorry?
It's going to have gates.
Just like, because they could use that as a drop off and, okay.
That's just got to work, isn't it?
They could always ask the 6th form if they can.
The trouble is if you drop off in an area like that, you tend to think, well, just pop into the shops for a minute. And leave the car in.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the yard around the new gym where tumble dots used to be. That's possibly more use, but you'd have to include it with busy print people, so.
Yeah. My proposal then is we have no objection to the listed building application for internal alterations, but we do have concerns over potential parking and or dropping off, and we would like some reassurances. Is that right, Catherine? Or
Do they have a travel plan?
a travel plan? We'd like a travel plan.
Not yet.
Could be something we asked for.
We would like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'd like to see a travel plan.
Yeah, we asked for from schools.
Seconded by Anthony. All those in favour? That's everyone except Robin. Number 10 on your agenda is Avenue Lodge, Stratford Road. This is the building just past the BP garage as you're leaving the town. It's an attractive Victorian building which has had additions and subtractions over the years, but it still remains quite an imposing building at the entrance to the town, of course, or entrance to the conservation area, although it's not listed and it's not actually in the conservation area. What they want to do is put on a 2-storey side extension to the east of the property, which would be hard against the hedge of the neighbour. Buckingham Society.
Well, as you might imagine, we had quite a comment about this. And we're surprised that it isn't actually listed as a local listed building, because it really is of some historic importance, being built as the lodge to Maids Morton Church. That's what the avenue was for. It was built by the Reverend at the time, which is around 1870, 1880. He lived in Buckingham and he wanted a special route to his church in Maids Morton. And this was erected along with the avenue. So he landed up in Maids Morton in along a beautiful carriageway with this rather attractive arts and craftsy lodge at the foot. So given all the history behind it, and it is quite a visually interesting building, I'm surprised it doesn't have a local listing, just as a local asset building. I can't remember the exact terminology.
No, I did check the local list.
I know, and it's not.
Local heritage
asset.
But I think it is. And I don't know, I mean, with the extension, I don't think it detracts from that main gable facing the road, in fact. So we, in the end, didn't really have any objections, but we would like to see something of the significance of its presence in Buckingham acknowledged. And that the best way would be local heritage.
Right.
It's going to lose the existing front entrance and porch.
Yes, but that, I don't think.
Well, you can see it from the front, basically. Because you see it sideways on, it's actually on the side elevation.
Yes,
in the avenue.
I mean, I think
it forms part of the front appearance.
Not significantly, I would say.
It's quite a big addition though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is at right angles to the main building, so the roof, there's no problem about roof subservience, but one thing, my concern at the moment is, although the notice went up on 13th of May, which is a week ago, there hasn't been any objection from the neighbour, so I don't know if we need to raise that or.
I'm really waiting for the heritage officers report. There's bound to be one, I think.
Well, I'd rather hope so.
It's not a heritage asset.
No, it isn't a heritage, well, it's not currently listed as such. But it's a sort of heritage officer ought to be consulted.
I was thinking from the legal point of view, his opinion would carry no legal weight.
No, it's not, but it'd be interesting to see what.
No.
I know it's a bit early for it, but at the neighbourhood plan working group this morning, when we were considering buildings and features to add to listed heritage assets, this is one of them. So,
Yes.
so that wouldn't be till the new plan
Well,
comes into
sure.
effect. So,
And I think it could still be listed as a heritage asset even after the extension. Because I think it's still prominent enough.
Yeah.
Still has the history behind it. Exactly.
Yeah.
among other suggestions this morning are the cattle troughs. So.
Yes, I think Edward Grimsdale would support you.
Quite a long list of things to be added over the years. Martin.
Only a building plan, really, I think, because it is quite a congested area along there. If they're having deliveries or, other things being brought along, scaffolding first of all, I suppose.
There's got a lot of parking area there. There's always 4 or 5 cars at Silverstone weekends.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're now going to put a low loader in there. Where are those 4 or 5 cars going to go?
Well, they probably won't come at weekends.
Well, no, there's other vehicles that park there and in front of the gates. It's not a problem, but.
So you like a construction management plan in light of the construction?
I think so. you know, Buckingham's an okay for transport and people moan about when it's really busy. But what you don't want is to put something else there because it flows at the moment when it's busy. But, you know, you get a broken car or delivery thing, then it soon quickly snarls up. And, you know, I'm not saying don't do it. I think it's, you know, it's okay, but it just needs to be mindful of other road users and the traffic that flows in and out of Buckingham.
Lisa?
Well, we've asked for the same thing with the application that was further up the hill on Stratford Road, and also when the villas area bit, we've said the same thing next to the BP. You know, if you've got lorries dropping off timber and stuff like that, it's exactly the same that we've asked for before.
Yeah,
So, right.
Not between those hours, you know.
Yeah.
We know how busy how that road gets blocked on, and there's cadet nights.
Yeah.
For instance, you know, it can be jams back from 100 yards.
Yeah.
Right, well, I, in that case, propose we have no objection to it, but subject first to any heritage officer comments, and secondly, we would like to see a management plan, a construction management plan.
Yeah.
Nothing concerned about proximity to the neighbour.
Oh, yes, sorry, and that's the third thing. It's not really objection, it's a view, isn't it, that it does appear to be very close to the neighbour. But I guess that's not something we can do much about, because it's his land.
Party line.
Is there going to be any loss of hedge or tree in the
Well,
application?
apparently not.
Yeah, but, yeah.
You know.
How do they build a wall for a hedge?
You just make your extension slightly narrow.
Yeah. Okay, so in that case, I'll add to my points. We also are concerned about the proximity of the extension to the neighbour's property.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's not an overlooking problem, that's what it is.
So, seconded by Anthony, all those in favour? Thank you, everyone except Robin. And the penultimate one is 50 Oban Avenue, household application for a first floor side extension. You will note from the drawings that the roof is not subservient, which is in line with design code. Anyone in comments on this?
Did you say not? It is.
It's not.
It is, look.
It is subservient.
Sorry, I mean, that's what I mean, don't I? It is subservient, it's not the same way, my apologies. Getting late, a lot of meetings today. Yeah, so it is subservient to the main roof, which is what we want. So there's no comments, I propose that we have no objection. Secondly, fine, all those in favour? Everyone except Robbins, thank you. And the final application in front of us, amended plans. This is 33 Hare Close. Outline application of all matters reserved erection of 2-storey dwelling. We objected to this on December 23rd, but they've come back with amended plans. The site notices went up on the 13th of May, but since our objections at our December meeting, there were further objections on the 23rd of December, 29th of December, 2nd of January, and as recently as the 19th of May, which was yesterday. Which came from Dr. Manuela Bedini and Mr. Mahai Bedini, pointing out a number of restrictions and stipulations on this land building. They say as the 33 Hare Close is part of the same development as ours, I assume the stipulation is also in their contract not to make any alterations or additions to the dwelling house, not to erect any building or structure such as our buildings and extensions, whether temporary or otherwise, on any part of the land hereby transferred, except in position in accordance with plans and specifications first submitted to and approved by the transferor. So they're not happy. A lot of people aren't happy. Our objections, if this committee is so minded, basically have changed haven't changed at all. They're concerned. Members opposed on the grounds of overdevelopment, loss of green space, effect on the street scene, and inadequate parking provision, pointing out the adding of another parking bay would reduce the garden area. even more. Martin?
I totally agree with all those. They still stand. The overdevelopment and the visual impact, I think, will change it there. And on top of all of that, irrespective of the parking spaces allocated to the two houses, I think the lack of parking removed from the local people will also make that area less desirable and more congested. So that's a no from me.
It doesn't meet parking provisions anyway, with two houses there on one plot.
Oh. Well, okay,
Yeah,
that's
so,
good then.
But take that point. Anyone else wish to comment? Right, I propose that we continue to propose this for all the reasons given. Seconded by Anthony, and all those in favour?
My left.
That's everyone acceptable. Thank you, Sam. Decisions, approved plans for once. We had no objections to any of them. They've all been approved.
Yes.
Makes some sort of record. Voluntary application that we have no objections to. Pruning. We ask that the work be delayed until after the nesting season, and the decision includes the standard information informative on this. So, right, Buckinghamshire Council Matters, to receive news of Buckinghamshire Council new documents and other information from Buckinghamshire Council members present. Robin, the floor is yours.
Good time.
Thank you.
Nice try.
You finished? I'll talk for longer now. Now, what I was just going to say to you is, you will remember, those of the council, that I discussed the fact that we've done a plan into primary care. That seems to be making its way into planning applications now, which means that it's been a consideration which, irrespective of applications, is interesting that that's actually started to actually change the scenery around the way applications are considered. Also, I understand that the route modification order, which we discussed years ago, has not progressed any great further forward. Won't say where it is, but those of us who know what it is a route modification order. And it was stated disappointingly by the leader of Buckinghamshire Council that he didn't see the December the 9th meeting, which agreed that they would look at providing social housing and key worker housing for residents in Buckinghamshire was a priority, and oozed greatly about the negativity of that, which seemed at odds to what the cabinet member for housing development and homelessness has stated previously, that he's working on 2 reports to come to cabinet on the principles around how they would approach the economics of providing key work housing and social housing. So it seems like the leader council in his statement at full council states one thing and the cabinet member states another. So between the two of them, there must be an actuality, but it would be a shame if the leader statement had drawn a line under what I thought were cabinet member was, though I didn't agree with the housing strategy. I thought was things that I found less than convincing with it. The fact that his assurance that this was still going to come forward was a great comfort. That seemed to be cancelled out by the statements of the leader of the council in his statement and report at Buckinghamshire Council. It's a case of watch this space to see whether the reports that come forward actually now come forward, or whether I thought that, to be fair to the cabinet member for housing, I thought he was trying to do its best. And it appears the leader is, which is quite a difference, because you will be aware that since the combination of 4 district councils' properties and 1 Buckinghamshire Council property, there is lots of scope within that, and those properties and lands and assets to make some considerations across the whole of Buckinghamshire. If that's not going to be the case, and it's all going to be through private provision, and it was questioned that the one site they got rid of at council was going to be all private. This was a council property in Wickham. Doesn't bode well to try to solve the integral housing problem in Buckinghamshire, and the fact that young people and other people like you discussed today with HMOs and such like aren't going to get a look at. So I thought it was quite negative. If it is in the public domain, I'm saying nothing that the leader didn't say. I'm just hoping that there'll be a change of mind on that. Perhaps he got carried away with the emotions of answering my question and felt that he was in another place and not in Buckinghamshire Council. But I do hope that if there's a discussion to be had, I really hope that the Cabinet Member for Housing wins that discussion, because I felt that he was acting honourably and trying to progress it outside the study that he published, and said as much when he published his study at the council, so a previous meeting. So that's quite worrying, especially if you've got young people. I think that's a negative, but of course we'll wait and see how that plays out as the months and weeks go on. And we won't forget that now, and it will probably be a feature in their minds for some time now. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
So 12.2 on council matters, Buckingham Silverstone cycle link to receive an update on this project. You'll have seen the email that was received from Buckinghamshire Council on the April the 26th, saying they're proceeding with the designs into the Buckingham Silverstone link. The map that's actually attached doesn't go anywhere near Silverstone, does it? It goes due west from Buckingham to Brackley, Stowe, and Silverstone are more north of Buckingham, so I'm not quite sure what they're trying to show on that map. But Robin.
Yeah, just to say that I think it was about 12, 15 years ago. I think we at this town council proposed a theoretical possibility of this, which was with the then developer who was working on the site before they actually started any developments, why Buckinghamshire County Council was in existence and the district. So the fact that it's carrying on discussions to a resolution is only positive, and I'm glad that they've listened to Buckingham Town Council and us who proposed it in the first place. So I think that's a positive, that even though we won't get any credit for it in the end, I think it was us who suggested the theoretical. We even had the then the person who was the director, or the person who was going to bring on the site at Silverstone, come to the town council to talk to us about the ambitions, and we talked with him endlessly about it and suggested that this was something that should be done because of the fact that at that time there was plans to open the academy at the education facility at Silverstone. We thought that it was an opportunity because we discussed the lack of bus routes and all this type of stuff. So I think that it's nice that they're carrying on with our idea. And when it's finished, I'm sure they'll put a plaque up saying thank you to Buckingham Town Council for suggesting this. And we're really grateful that we listened. I don't suppose that'll happen, but that aside, it was us who first rooted this and started this project probably 15 years ago, was it? About 15 years ago, yeah. So funny how these things take time, isn't it? But yeah, it's interesting. There may be some questions to be asked about it, but I think that's for another place.
Thank you, Robin. Anyone got that?
It shows a national cycle route going north of Buckingham, but without the detail on the map, it looks to me like it's actually just following the Dadford Road. which I can't really see as being a dedicated cycle route, considering it.
Well, what they're doing, they're talking to landowners, so they can go off piste, as it were, across some, perhaps
But
some of
that's
the
not
land.
going, that's not going across Stowe.
No, that's what I'm saying, the map
When I had a conversation with somebody that's worked at Stowe for a very long time, they weren't aware that Bucks Council was proposing that they were putting this route across there. They said it was going to be a bridle path, not a greenway. Which is a different thing altogether.
Bridle paths can be used by cyclists, but they're not made up, are they? That's the whole point.
Not necessarily, but yeah.
At the meeting, which those preceding meetings, there was a meeting at Stowe with the Stowe School and the National Trust all those years ago. And they may have changed people at the National Trust of Stowe, but they were very keen to progress it at that time. They may not have changed their mind, they may have come to a different conclusion, we can't speak for them. But the pinch point was, at that time, when it leaves Stowe grounds on the route that they were looking at, the landowner between that and the caravan site and the route they were going to suggest in those days. Yeah, the site for Silverstone camping.
Oh, the camping site.
Yeah, the camping site. Yeah. It actually looked like it was going to go alongside Woodlands Farm and straight through to the caravan site, which I thought was going to have to take some really careful discussion. But I've seen no evidence of that discussion being completed or anyone coming back saying, apart from all those discussions going on, that was the route that they were going to take at the time. And it was going to come along, drop off the back of it, and then it was going to go along and not follow the, the avenue. They put a new riding in, didn't they? In Stowe, and then drop out back down there. So I think it's
possibly reinstating the original riding rather than.
Yeah, they reinstated the original riding. I think it was going to follow that, but although I think at the time they all met and they were very friendly to it, and the developer who was bringing the site on was hoping to bring some Section 106 money from that site to do it, everything's changed since then. So, and I've still, to the best of my knowledge, seen no evidence that the landowner who's got the point which makes it work has come back saying, yes, we're very happy for it to go through our campsite to Silverstone, which is the real point. Otherwise, as Councillor Davis quite rightly said, you've got to use the Dafford Road.
I think it should be pointed out that the caravan campsite that you're talking about, it's not a permanent thing. It's used on certain times of the year for events which the owners of Blackpit Farm and Woodlands Farm privately put on. It's all private land.
Yes.
Adjacent to Silverstone Circuit and the National Trust land at Stowe. It fills it in between. So it's not necessarily going across their campsite. It is going across their farmland, which they use on occasion for other purposes.
Would it be worth making? We've been informed, and we've had this. Taking on point the comments Councillor Davies make about the route not being really that way well defined, and also the point that the cognitivity of it were there to write back to them and ask them how far they've got with the negotiations to completion of the route.
Well, that route isn't shown on that.
No, but it was shown on
that route's just going off towards Westbury, basically, isn't it?
It was shown on an earlier map.
But it's not shown on this map, Robin. So
no, I think it would be worth, because it's very good to read, but it'd be nice to see it defined.
This is the map that was sent out with the press release. The map is in error, so.
Yeah, but I still think it's worth asking. About how far they've got along with the negotiations.
No, I agree.
If they shelved the idea of putting it through Stowe grounds and then
because it makes a lot of difference to the well-being of Buckingham. If it succeeds, it's a good thing. If it doesn't succeed, part of the something WIC they call it, the cycleway for Bucks, and it's listed from one end of Bucks to the other. The theoretical that there'll be a cycleway for those who want to cycle from one end to the other. I'm not including myself in that, but you know, Degway maybe. But I do think we just need clarity on it, because otherwise we're just nodding through a bit of paperwork that doesn't really tell us anything.
Well, they might come back to us and say, we've already told you that in the press release, which reads, we've now received the detailed design for the first section of the cycleway, which is intended to eventually be subject to future negotiations with other landowners and providers, a complete off-carriageway route between Silverstone Park Circuit and Buckingham, including linking to Buckingham's railway cycle path.
So subject to,
yeah, so that
means they haven't done, which.
Well, the press release says that's what they're planning to do. So if we ask them a question, they're just going to come back and say, well, we've already told you what we're going to do. This is the problem of it.
But it's gilding the lily, isn't it? It's saying you're going to do something, and if you haven't, it's a bit like saying I'm going to do something. I think we just need to say, is there any more information such and how far you're getting along with it, because it's integral, and it would be a reasonable question to ask, because if they can give us good evidence, it can be included in the neighbourhood plan.
Yeah. Fran?
I was going to suggest that the question that should be asked is, we note from your map, the key giving Greenway built and Greenway planned. This doesn't seem to include what you're referring to, going through
Silverstone Park,
going to Silverstone Park.
Yeah.
Can you give us further information on that?
Yeah, I think that.
That
also add what Robin's saying, that you know, we'd also appreciate any information on how negotiations are going with landowners.
Yeah.
That's the first question.
It'd be a good thing to include in the neighbourhood plan.
Yeah. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, and finally, under Buckinghamshire Council Matters, receive for information the consultation, notice the map for Osier Way Phase 1 street naming. You remember that we started to do this and were then discovered that it's actually Orchard's job to do this part of it. Fairly bland, Rowan Fields, Redwood Street, Magnolia Close.
Magnolia.
Birch Lane, Aspen Corner. The one I particularly thought was a bit difficult was we got Juniper End. I've got a friend who lives at Juniper Hill, and I can understand that's only 7 miles away. But as Catherine points out, it's in a different county, so and a different postcode. So.
Yeah.
Robin?
I think the names are very suiting to the development, really, because it was a development in the wrong place at the wrong time, and when we didn't want it, and because we'd like to have had some factory units there. So, and of course, it is in Gorka, which they've chosen the names. They don't reflect anything. Where usually historically in Buckingham, names were usually chose around some historical feature. It'll be notable how different this is. Though it's in the parish of Gorka, it will be using all the facilities in Buckingham, doctor's surgeries, the shops,
As
the
Gorka
schools.
does anyway.
Yeah, so, but the names, I think they're not, I would have chose, I would have liked to have gone like we tried to pick names over the years around something historical or whatever, and Osier Way and the waterway.
Thanks for that, Robin. We have already chosen a number of names.
I know.
We're going to be put forward until.
I know, it's just a
Until
shame we
they
would,
come back.
you know,
So
it's their right to choose those names, it's just not the names I would have.
Anyway, we'll have a second third bites of the cherry with phases 2 and 3. So.
I was just thinking, if they could put trees of the species name appropriate, because there's a nice big open space on the redwoods, you would have a huge redwood.
Yeah. There's more redwoods in this country than there is in the native.
Yes, but
land as well.
a lot of space for a redwood, and there's a nice big space right there.
California green. Thank you. Right, We can move on then, item 13, updates from representatives on outside bodies, we've heard from Anthony already, anyone else? No. Thank you, item 14, action reports, to receive action reports as per the attached list. Thank you for those, Catherine, anyone have any comments on action report? Well,
I need to know.
Lucy,
sorry, just trying.
Lucy, sorry, has got her hand up.
Appendix D. Got it. Right, thank you.
Lucy's got her.
Lucy.
Just to say that, I noted that on the tree officer's response, that one of the dark green areas shaded, which indicates a high priority habitat area, has already been removed by the OCA development. I don't know if you look, obviously the street going across, that's the bit that kind of sits in between the Best Western and the industrial estate, but the dark green shaded area does indicate that some of the trees that have been taken down by OCA were actually part of protected habitat. I didn't know if maybe the Forestry Commission were aware of their removal or.
I think that's an excellent suggestion because it's caused a lot of upset. Well,
there were some big, old, mature trees, and if they said that's listed, the dark green areas are high priority habitat. So you've got the light green streak, as I said, that's the bit that sits below the industrial estate and behind Best Western. But that dark green shaded area does also cover the trees on the other side of OCA, which will
butchered. Yeah. And there is an ongoing problem as we've reported to enforcement. You know, originally they started all the tree felling and grubbing out on phase 1. They then started on phase 2 and haven't even got an application for that yet. And that's all been grubbed out. And then this is enforcement are well aware of that, but this is something else to report. Thank you, Lewis.
So we've got some movements to put people back.
I think that's a full proposal. I'd second that and thank Lucy for bringing it forward. But it is evident, you see, because when we tried to get the detailed plans to be discussed at committee for that estate, which would have given us a chance to have discussed all these matters, we also had ongoing enforcement issues to do with all this. Then the planning went straight through. We were told in correspondence that there was no need for us to discuss the sewage, the drainage and whatever, and we got the response that it was deemed that they were not necessary to discuss. It would have given us a chance to question these things in a meeting and maybe brought it to the officer's attention. That's one of the faults when that didn't happen for material, you know, for the outline plan, but the material plan. So I think it's really good that Lucy's picked it up, and don't know how you grow the trees back to what they were, but they've taken a chunk out. And if you look at, as you go around to the part-time police station and the tyre place there, the whole band of that's gone. It's dreadful. The idea that why would you want to open up an estate to looking at an industrial estate when you've got to plant trees to put in? It just made, even if you wanted to take them out, you would have thought you'd have left them there so that it got some screening for the properties, wouldn't you? In there.
Thank you. So that's proposed by Lucy, seconded by Robin. All those in favour that we make that report? Thank you. That's everybody except for. Oh, you just got a planning one, Robin. Something that was unanimous, yeah. Not a planning one. Okay, thank you. Buckinghamshire Council Committee meetings, 15.1, North Bucks Area Planning Committee. The first that we will ever attended under the Unitary Authority. We did attend strategic sites in December 2021, but this is the first one. This is land west of London Road, which the planning officer believes to be in the parishes of Beachhampton and Thornton, not Buckingham. Anyway, we'll get around that one.
Yeah.
So Buckingham Town Council is opposing this application for 300 dwellings as being contrary to policies of the Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan and the Vale of Aylesbury Plan, both of which zone this site for employment land until 3031 and 3033 respectively. And the thrust of our argument is going to be to overturn this would render government-supported neighbourhood and local plans pointless. So, I will be speaking on behalf of Buckingham Town Council. Robin and Anya are both registered to speak.
Well, Anya has registered herself, I assume you registered yourself.
I'm registered. I don't know quite whether in what capacity, but there are enough pieces of things that I said in the document for the calling. The great thing is that they have left all my spelling and grammar mistakes in for everyone to read. So you can see just how dyslexic I am. It's fully on display now, which is quite a privilege for me. I'm not been spoken to about speaking orders or anything to do with that meeting. I'm presuming I will be hustled into a room when I get there and told how they wish to play that. But as I'm sitting as a member on the committee, but I have got one little thing in which I will remind about is Localism Act Section 25, really assists us greatly. But we'll see how we go into that. I won't comment on the application, only that I am somewhat relieved after calling it in, supporting the town council's calling, and notes that 2 councillors of South Buckinghamshire also asked it to go to committee, that it's irrespective of whatever the decision is, it's a relief that we're going to have to get to discuss a planning application which is of significance, whatever the outcome and whatever the decision to do with Buckingham, probably well over time.
Yep, and the calling was supported by 2 out of 4 councillors, to them our thanks. So we eventually got there. On the same agenda on Wednesday will be the Welsh Street application for the 6th form centre. They have to do this because it's county council application, so it has to go to committee. That's all open and transparent. For those 2 in the morning.
Suspicious laughter.
Catherine and Anthony are going to come and hold my hand down there. While we get through that.
Happened to be asked.
I should probably be out in the toilet break.
I'll come along here.
I'll need some moral support, so we will be attending the 3 of us. Strategic Sites Committee on the 11th of April has been cancelled. Was cancelled. 9th of May there were no Buckingham applications. Item 15.3, Growth Infrastructure and Housing Select Committee, which Catherine attended by online. It's all here in Appendix E. Has anyone got any comments on that? Questions? Okay, Karen.
I noticed that ID, I can't remember who ID stands for, a councillor, said, well, if it doesn't go to committee, basically means that the officer's report goes unchallenged. Yes, I just wanted to emphasise what a good that was.
Who was a lady?
It's a lady, was it? I didn't know ID. Who is ID?
Isabel Darby.
Right.
You always get the name in full at the top and then I use.
Yeah, well, I forgot.
Otherwise, you know,
I just looked at the notes.
Well, it's 2 further to begin, Duncan Smith.
Fair enough.
I did happen to wander into that committee meeting. One of my councillors who works for the NHS had to go into hospital to work because of illness and sickness, which gave me the opportunity to join the meeting. So I thought it would be a shame not to. And so I did question openly in the meeting the points which has been a burden to us, the fact that we haven't, because it was about, the whole meeting was about development and such, it's meant to be a short meeting, but we didn't put a stop to that. And we soon made it a bit long. I raised the fact that we hadn't got any developments, which some Buckingham and particularly, and that Lord Bucks didn't seem to have any applications at the go to a planning committee. They all seem to be done under delegated power and officers' decisions.
Yeah.
And I should say in the meeting, I can't believe that everything that everyone put in wouldn't have deemed, one of them couldn't have deemed, and that Buckingham was not a small parish, it was a large town. And I felt that this wasn't really in keeping. Well, the officer gave a very quite good response and that he didn't believe what I was saying was correct. So, well, he's now going to find out what I said is correct. And I believe there'll be a discussion about that. And it's quite remarkable that now we've got 2 applications suddenly going to a planning committee. So I can only suggest that in the decision making after our discussions after the meeting, plus by email, plus everything else, that maybe that's having a determined effect on it, or whether it was the weight of the interest of the applications. The one in Wales Street, which would have always had to go to committee anyway by the regulations. So, but it's intimate that, and maybe we'll get some closer forward. Maybe going forward, we'll see more of it, because it just doesn't sit very easy with me. I sit here and listen to you discuss all the applications. I listen to you come up with really good reasons on why or not you should do something, that not one of those against or for would have registered for a planning meeting. I know that Buckinghamshire Council, whatever, and if you look at the figures of the different planning committees in the report, we were far well down on the amount of applications. Some of them down South West actually meet on quite a regular basis, which is incredible, isn't it? So we did wander in and extend the length of the meeting somewhat and have some questions. But
thank you, Robin. Thank you, Catherine, for those notes. Yeah. Very, very useful. Transport Environment, Receipt of Information Service Director's performance report submitted to that meeting. All noted. Thank you very much. Then move on to 15.4, Transport Environment and Climate Change Select Committee on 28th of March. There is nothing relevant on the agenda for us. So.
That was all HS2 stuff again.
Yeah. Okay. So we can move on then to enforcement. Item 16, new breaches. Martin, I believe you would like to raise about yellow lines in the conservation area.
Yes, just as I was strolling along with my head in the clouds, I happened to look down at my feet and there were 2 big yellow lines at Verney Close. And I thought, hey, oh, they're not meant to be like that. Somebody's wasting paint here. So
quite an odd
shade of yellow,
yellow
and they're
mix.
quite and there's a very little bit of black in between them. It's almost one thick.
They're neither one thing or another, are they?
So I think
Whereabouts is it? The corner of Verney Close from the White House.
Yeah.
Round hairdressers, round.
They re-tarmacked it there and then.
Yeah. Okay.
And also on Market Hill.
It looks ugly.
Exactly the same, whether opposite the church.
Police yard.
The police yard.
Yeah.
Willing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even neatly painted.
Too big and the wrong colour.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not just us, it's all conservation areas have this, don't they?
Yes.
Yes.
Camp County have got a direction and they're supposed to be narrow. And they're supposed to be more of a primrose yellow.
Yeah.
Right.
So then they are not quite so glaring in the streets.
Oh.
So if we could draw attention then to highways, their shortcomings, Robin.
Being if they haven't done it correct, and the contractors have come back and done that incorrect, they do have a warranty on jobs. And I think even though the tarmac may be temporarily down there for some period of time, we hope it'll be there a long time. I think this would be the fact that they haven't done the job correct. So I think it would be worth raising it as an error. That they've not done it as per type, because they know, because we have discussed it in council before about the size of the lines and whatever, so that if they've not done the job properly, so they should come back and do it again. It's not a case that we have to leave them to do it. As Councillor Trice said, it's done wrong, it's done wrong. It should have been done properly the first time. The lines, the work is insufficient and it's faulty. So we should write to Transport and say that this is an error, hasn't been done properly, please can you come back and do it again? Because it didn't, your contractor has not acted correctly. I know we're glad the tarmac's down on the road and all that sort of stuff, but
how long it take us to get police yards sorted?
Exactly. I mean, let's get it, so because if we're not careful, what will happen is this will become commonplace. And if we don't point it out, it won't. And then it's all right in a large urban area with a large road, but we are a market town and we should try and hide some standards. So
it's medieval market town.
Medieval even that, if you, on that though, I am about medieval market town, yeah.
No, it must be a minefield out there with all the, regulations and this and that.
Yeah, but it should have been in the job spec. It should have already been factored into the job spec. You are in a conservation area. You put the white lines down. Nobody told them.
They're not as wide as the normal yellow lines, are they? But not as narrow as they should be.
No.
And they're really, really thick and claggy.
They look
It
like
just
they
needs
were
to be
painted with a
rectified, as you
brush.
say, it's an error, let's ask them to rectify.
I think Martin's right.
Yeah, so that we will draw attention.
And the others as well.
Buckinghamshire, would just like to also point out that at Fleece Yard, it's a mishmash of herringbone, block paving and stretcher bond. Also, where it crosses the pavement, there's a drop bit and there's a huge dip too. I mean, it's just very poor workmanship, apart from the choice of materials we think is not correct.
Right,
The,
add that to the complaint.
The water, thing
Yes,
seems to be flush with the surface now, which they weren't.
I agree,
It's caused a lot of issues, yeah.
But it's just a case of not putting thought into how it should be finished off in the middle of the conservation area. It's just bad planning and bad workmanship.
Robin first, then Frank.
I know we've reported it and we've done all this, yet nothing's happened. If you go into where we have the market, the cat market, you look there and you look down at your feet as you get to you cross over to the old jail. That is just a sham. The stones have been thrown back in any old shape or form, and it even looks bad, but they're all loose again. And the fact that the contract hasn't done it, I think we could have found other people who could have done it far better than them. They've just messed it up. They haven't even though they put it in, they haven't even put the sets in level, followed the pattern of the stones. They just laid any old hell and filled it with a bit of tarmac with them. Now the vehicles have gone over them because they're not, there's not as much stone there. They've just rocked like that and come straight back out. So where the market stalls stand and the car stand, all those stones, which are blue stone, are all any old hell again. So they've paid to have that done, presumably with some of the ratepayers' money and the council tax money. They should ask them to come back and redo it because it's wrong. I know it's been reported on Fix My Streets, which is not an exact science. It's a board game. So I do think that we should write and point out to them that they must have paid this. It's still within the stage where it can be called back in because they're all warranted, these jobs. Under the warranty, they failed. They should come back and put it right.
Thank you, Robin. Frank.
Thank you. I was just going to say that I think this all comes back to something we discussed quite a long time ago about trying to get something in place to force any contractors who are digging up roads or pavements to make good with the correct materials, like for like. Afterwards, because I think that was Fleece Yard when that was originally all dug up, that was the original issue with it. But it was also then with things down Market Hill, where the flagstones have been taken up, and they've just dumped some tarmac in instead. And now, I'm like they have done that now. I haven't looked to see whether they've. I know it's due to be done, or if it's not been done already, to put the new ones outside the front of the old jail.
The waiting for stone.
But that is a job that's in hand, but can we look back at that note from this committee about that and see if there's any way we can go back to
replacing like for like.
Well, see if we can put that on a future agenda perhaps, and to see where we can go with it, whether it warrants a letter to the appropriate government department to look at legislation on that.
Good point, Fran.
Yeah.
So that could go on the next agenda then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin.
Might be worth us looking through the work programme in Transport and Environment Select Committee, just to see if in the next meetings or so, and they're going to be bringing that forward. If they are going to bring it forward in the work programme, and it forms part of the agenda, dependent on what's happened by then, we could write to the Transport and Environment Select Committee and point out, or somebody could go down there and question it in public, because all these things they're doing, they're spending our money and it's not being done right. People then start to mistrust the spending of the money, and coming to do it again means they're not doing something else somewhere else. So clearly the contract that they've got isn't robust enough, is it? It's not got enough teeth in it, and it's not they're unable to enforce it, because it's still sat there. I think it's several weeks some of this stuff has been done, and it's still sat there waiting to be done. So that might be what I would suggest.
Yeah, I think that should all go in the same item.
Yeah, because it's a way of
agenda. Thank you.
People around this table here are very capable of talking.
It's like there's no project manager that's like going and checking the work that's being done, is there?
This is a question, if they produce a report, which they will have to, a mid-term report at some point about the contracts that they're doing and how they are. It's a good point to go and question whether the contract's really working because they're A, B and C. And that helps them scrutinise out to councillors in the meeting, ask indicative questions about the contract if you bring evidence to them.
Can we leave that then until the next meeting, if you say? Any other enforcement matters? Just one to ask about the loss of drop curbs at the bottom of Summerhouse Hill. Catherine, you have someone today about it?
Yes, we had a complaint into the office. Robin was looking into it as well, but he got the same answer.
Yeah.
He did. She reported it like Books My Street. You cannot now go up the Morton Road without going up Summerhouse Hill for some while to find a drop curb to cross Summerhouse Hill and then get back to the Morton Road again, because the work they did put curbs in.
We did report it to enforcement, didn't we? But
we did, but she reported it and was told there's not a problem. Well, I'm sorry, there is.
There is, yeah.
It's not just mobility scooters, it's prams, it's wheeled luggage, it's
children on bicycles.
Could we revisit that with them? Thank you very much. Rolling list updates, tree thing applications, no change from March 25th. Land grab reports, no change from March 25th. Calling requests updated. Thank you, Catherine, for all that. And HIMO licenses, no change from March 25th.
If I may, Chairman?
Martin.
Yeah, HIMOs, we were talking about that earlier in the Buckingham Development Plan meeting. So I thought I would go and have a look at the list on the Buckinghamshire website, which you can download an Excel spreadsheet dated 1st of the 5th, 24. But I find there's about 8 discrepancies between your list and their published list, Catherine.
Well, I was told that they only updated in January, so I checked that my list was still this when I was doing the agenda, you know. Obviously I do these things as and when, and
I didn't know whether that's where you got it from, or
whether
there were other devious ways that you have to get this information.
I look at licensing's website.
Oh, there will be.
When I checked it last, and remember we don't have these rolling lists every agenda, so
no.
it was matching, and I was going to check it against Sheena's list that went to the NDP this morning.
Yeah, we had 23 on that.
Yes,
Not
but-
licensed typos, but it didn't include London Road or Chandler's Road.
Well, that's because, as I say, they don't update their own list very often. But because I've only seen Sheena's today, I haven't actually double checked it. So.
Yeah, I only found 19 in Buckingham on the website.
Sheena had 23 on the list, then I did the two more.
But some of them I noticed were agreed, which meant hadn't been renewed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's obviously a bit of swaying, but I was just interested. I thought, oh,
something I try and keep abreast of. It is. I mean, it's not easy to find.
No.
One of the things we can see not have on agendas now is access. We used to have access on there because we had.
It is on item 18, Robin.
Yeah, but
access it is.
But apologise, but one of the things I think when it comes to that item is the point that the chairman's raised about the drop curb being moved. If you recall that the long fight we had over at Lacehill to get us a slope in, and then we had the long fight which Catherine did on our behalf was to get Boundary Drive to actually get a Disability Act in there, and it was Catherine who took on our behalf much of that work to try and get them to actually do that. Now, when you're doing construction work, and we are Buckinghamshire Council's home of the Paralympics, it really should be firstmost in all their decisions that if you're doing something, don't take out a drop curb and put it somewhere else. They may say, well, they can go up there to get somewhere, or you can just go up there and go somewhere. You've got to go up the hill and drop it. And I think that this is one of the things we should sort of perhaps do a press release around, because we should say we don't want this to happen. We want it to stop, because the next time it happens, it could be the difference between someone actually getting out into the town centre or not getting out into the town centre. And we've got to carry on the siren around disability and access. Anyone who's pushed a wheelchair around will know that these little things make such a difference to pushing the wheelchair. They also make such a difference to the person sitting in the wheelchair. And we have to sort of sing it loudly, because just saying, can you put it back? It shouldn't have been took away. And we've got to defend the people in the community who have got no disabilities or may have future disabilities, let alone pushchairs. I think we should do a press release around that, because it needs to be drawn to the public attention that we have questioned it and we want it put right. I think the chairman's absolutely right to focus on this.
Lisa?
Thank you. It's not only making sure they put them back, but also when I did Swan Trail for Sam to make sure that it was accessible, going from Castle Street, I think it was, where the funeral directors is, across to the church path going up, and I had to go where all those cars park, and it's like cobblestones, and it's like, yeah, really, really steep in parts, and also badgers. When I was when I had dogs and I was trying to get across from one side to the other, I was having to go up into the estate in parts to come down. So it's not just putting back, it's could it be looked at maybe as a whole, which is a bigger discussion.
We keep talking about cycleways, but people in disability housing wheelchairs, they need ways as well to get around the town. And the age profile, you've only got to look outside the New Inn on Tuesday. There's plenty of people in the community or in the town centre using those things. So I'd like to think we would do a press release. I think in fact, the way I would construct it is we had a large trouble to get a slope in Lacehill. We also managed to get the Boundary Drive slope done. What we don't want to do is to keep repeating these questions again and again and again. We hope for it to be an automatic that you consider these things.
We haven't got this outstanding at the moment. Can we wait till we get a reply from highways, transport the Bucks, and then consider a press release based on how they come back.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. Right.
I was just going to say, I think that the Lace Hill slope and the Foundry Drive slope, the highlight from going to the press with it
What a
was
difference it
really
makes.
substantial in
We did, that was 10 years.
I know it was,
And we
but
did
it
have
was,
a big press campaign.
I know it was substantial in getting it changed. So I agree with Robin that we do need to
It wasn't 10 years.
look at using the press to highlight these things.
It wasn't 10 years.
Social media.
2017.
Well,
2017, the slope in Foundry Drive was 2021.
The council in 2015, and the main thing on the item was.
Yeah, that's because we were ongoing argument. We had people's, eventually, but I will say, I did say to the officers, it has now been adopted. 10 years after, or whatever that estate went through, the actual slope has been adopted by Buckinghamshire Council. So,
Anyway,
what a jolly good job we all did.
matters to report 18 is just a reminder, any damage, superfluous, redundant signs with the town access issue, any other urgent matters, Lisa.
I can't remember if it was yourself or Andy, you mentioned about the takeaway signs for the Linden Village takeaway stop. And they're still on the bypass.
Right.
There's one still there, and I think still outside Watermeadow School.
Thank you.
Okay.
But that was part of our dissolved services contract, which we don't have anymore.
Yeah. Anthony.
Bearing in mind how delayed the skate park was, mainly due to the EA huffing and puffing about water and the rest of it, I was a bit surprised to see when we'd had some rain, there was quite a lot of standing water on our brand new skate park. One would have thought some attention would have been paid to drainage. I don't know.
That's the flood defence.
Robin, you're so wise compared to us.
That's the attention pond.
Again, I'm not sure how we can report that, but it does seem disappointing, jokes aside.
I'll wait till it rains again, take a photograph and send it to Mr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
I talked to them about skating, they said they don't skate in the rain, so.
Yeah.
Because it's too many puddles.
Yeah.
Well, those little wheels on skateboards, they probably don't manage deep puddles.
No.
But in the winter, you've got an ice
And
skating
the fashion for really wide legged trousers has come back in as well.
Anything else apart from Lisa's nothing?
It's nothing specific at the moment, but I noticed that the Osier Way traffic seems to be increasing. And that's even before we have a development stuck behind it. So I think we ought to look at the signage and hedgerows on some of the access adjoining roads and places, because it's okay when it was quiet, but if it's going to get busy and people want to come out or get in, those viewing parts of that road need to be clear.
Which point do you mean? Can you off the bypass? Or?
Well, even onto it, around by the Aldi and Pets at Home, junction, that's quite a tight, and there is a sign there.
That's a roundabout.
Sorry?
That's a roundabout.
No, along the road itself.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
and then
some of the entries and exits.
Yeah, along and then, round.
Is that a matter for us, Steve, or is it county and services?
Well, yes, I mean, it is.
Highways.
Yeah, but there's, again, like reason why, the council report on last trade or something like that.
Thank you, Martin. We will get that.
As it gets rolling, I think that's an area where.
It's sight lines you're talking about.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And because quite occasionally we have some large lorries, well, not we, but there are lorries out there. Not a problem at the moment, but when you get a whole load of, you can't get a lorry parked plus 2 cars there, so something's got to give.
Yeah.
In those high peak times. Yeah. So we'll have to look into things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone noticed that two things. You notice that we have manhole covers mended. And then
They break.
they break. And on the bypass,
They're on the
we've seen,
guarantee.
yeah, I know, but we've just seen that there's a issue with the materials that they're setting them in. When Graham Smith was working for Bucks County Council, they used to set them in a large, it was like a special setting tarmac, but they put them in, it's like concrete, and they set them in. Now, what they do is they seal them in resin, and they resin it all together, and that's supposed to hold together. But it clearly, with the amount of traffic on the bypass, it isn't robust enough. So they need to be thinking about that. But of course, then it makes an issue because you have a drain with a sign by it, which gets knocked down, and people going around it and spinning around the traffic. And you've got that down. I think they're going to put the one down Mitre Street. Well, they're going to mend it temporarily. Down Mitre Street till it breaks again. There's one down Mitre Street where the drain was mended and then it collapsed in again, and they've got this, and it just seems to be a problem with drain covers. And it must be that the material they're using is not sufficiently strong enough to deal with it. Because you've got large vehicles going along there. That's what I'm noticing, and we do report them and we do ask them to be done again. But it would be worth having a proper conversation with them about have they got any plans to change the material they're doing it, because they're going to keep failing if they don't go back to, it was like concrete stuff. It was real hard stuff. And when we done the drains in that stuff, they're still there. The ones which were done in that, they haven't broke. They might be cracked, the ground might crack, but they actually last longer. There might be something to happen like that. But on a positive note, I don't know if anyone has noticed it, and it was done a little while back. It is so much more easy to drive around Oversea Way now, when you haven't got to go for a roller coaster. And I think for 10 or more years, we mentioned that we'd like to have that mended, and it eventually got back into a transport scheme, and it's now been done. That must improve people's journey around the industrial estate somewhat now.
Well, not if it's raining, because it's completely flooded.
Well, yeah, I know that's another point. That's coming out of the new estate, which has been given permission, because the land drains are gone. But I do think that seems to have improved something. So on a plus, I think that we should say thank you very much for doing that. But on a negative, we should ask them what their plans are, because it must be embarrassing for the lads, the local area technicians, to have to keep going out and doing this, because the materials are clearly substandard. I stood there and watched them put it in and told them it wouldn't work.
What we're particularly happy about,
they were very pleased to see me.
They replaced it after.
That would work.
And then within 10 days, it returned again.
I told them it was rubbish.
Right, anything else? In that case, everybody, item 19, I've got one item of chair's information. You will all be aware at the last full council meeting, a motion proposed by Anthony and myself was approved by the council that we send a joint letter with Winslow about the shortcomings of Buckinghamshire planning systems at the moment. Winslow decided its meeting last Thursday evening that it would not, after all, join with Buckingham and Roy van der Poel and Lou Munger, who had been behind it, were outvoted. So what we will need to do is that the motion that was passed is no longer valid in those words. So Anthony and I will bring the motion back to the next interim council meeting to have it either amended or whatever members want to do with that. That's just for notice. I have already informed Steve about this, and
I think which bit did they not agree on? Doing it with Buckingham or
they didn't think it was a great concern because lack of progress over things. I'm not going to go through this now, but we'll go through this at the meeting.
Yeah, let's do it then.
Yeah, they didn't want to rock the boat, basically. Yeah. So that's my only chairman's item for information. Stated next meeting, Monday, 17th of June, following an interim meeting of the full council, and at 9:20, I'll bring it down. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.